Ortiz, Superintendent of the Raton Public Schools. You've been in the super's job now about a little over a year now, and you come in at a pretty tumultuous time. Finances were rough and things like that. How's all that worked out over the last year and going into this year?
Well, it was a difficult year last year. We had a lot of changes that we had to make. We had to downsize our staff, and so we made it through that. We're moving along. We're working as hard as we can to continue to educate our kids the best we can with the resources that we have, and so it's getting better. It is.
Okay, what's the 40-day count this year?
40-day count this year was 911. Last year we were at 943. So we're still dropping kids. We're still dropping kids. They come in and out. They do. But I was talking to the board a few weeks ago, and I did let them know that when we closed the other two schools, we lost a small size unit. There's a catch-22 to this. We are losing kids, but with us losing kids, we're gaining some of those small size units back. So in the 40th day, when I did all the numbers and stuff, we lost 43 or 42, somewhere around there, and our small size units went up to 43. So it's a good thing, but it's not a good thing because we know we're losing kids, but we're gaining small units back again. So kind of evens out with what we've lost with the kids that have moved somewhere else. So it's kind of evened out a little bit. I wish it would be higher, but we'll keep working on that.
So you feel a little more comfortable with the budget this year than you did last year?
I feel a little bit more comfortable. We've straightened it out a little bit. We're trying to make sure that we maintain and we can maintain our staff and see what that happens this year. I'm hoping it does. We're still on emergency supplemental though, and that means that the state has given me money to make it through this year, and we're hoping that we can continue to survive on what they've given us. So,
okay. Yesterday you ran into a little bit of a thing in planning.
yes.
You have a little committee that you guys have created to do facilities management planning to come up with a plan for what you need. Can you kind of explain how that's supposed to work?
Yeah, Marty, what happens every 5 years, the schools have to have a facility master plan with them, and our fifth year ended 2017. So we have been at the end of last year to the beginning of August, we were meeting with a certain company. We put out bids for that, and we put committees together. We usually with our committees, what we ended up doing is I asked each principal to put some parents that are on their parent advisory committee, teachers, staff, and those people to come in and just kind of go over all the school system and our needs. And so the plan, what ends up happening with the plan isn't something that I put all this stuff that we need to do to the Raton Public Schools, whether it's building a new school, whether it's also, updating water mains or water pipes or whatever that comes into the district. We just put a plan together what our priorities are in our school. And with this plan through PSFA, we're able to, if there's an emergency that happens, say a water line breaks, our water line right now from Tiger Drive to the Raton High School was the main water line that they've had there since the high school was built, which is in the late 50s, early 60s when it's been there. So we don't know how long it's going to survive, or we're going to start having water breaks. So with a plan, we put those priorities in and say, these are the things that we really need the most in our district. Of course, we always wish we could build a new school, but right now we're not looking at that. That would be in the plan to say, in the future, if we can and we can get a bond passed, then we would love to have a new school for Raton. The problem and that we see the last two elections for a bond election did not go very well, and we couldn't pass the bond. But to the community out there, we have some very old schools. Longfellow, even the Raton Intermediate School, those schools were built in the late 30s. And so they have been around for 70 years, and we have taken great care of those buildings. Infrastructures, though, at Longfellow are not very good. Our floors are kind of creeping to a side or another on the settlement of the building. So those are things that we look at, Marty. But one of the things that I want to reiterate to the community is that we're not planning on building a new school tomorrow. We just, that's part of a plan, a 5-year plan, and that might not even happen in 5 years. It's just something that we have to do to maintain our facilities, to make sure that our facilities are working. And I just wanted to get that to the public, that we're not building a new school and planning to do one. But in the future, we can put that out.
But it needs to be on the plan. That needs to be the long-range plan.
It has to
because
be.
The buildings are not gonna last forever.
No. And the last 2 facility master plans, and that dates back another 10 years, each plan had a new school in there. So as you can see, those plans are there to, it's kind of, it's like when you're planning a vacation. What am I going to do here, here, and here? And what we need to do as a school, what are our priorities in our school? How do we maintain a safe and orderly school without our systems breaking down? And a lot of our systems are getting old. And yes, we've remodeled, we've resurfaced a lot of the, just kind of a facelift type thing, but the infrastructure and the systems are the things that people don't see that we have in our schools. So the facility master plan is just something that we have to put together. So in case we have an emergency, say the water line breaks, if I don't have a plan, then the facilities master people down in Santa Fe will just say, hey, you weren't planning on this, you weren't doing this, we're not going to be able to help you. But with the plan, they're able to say, okay, Raton had foresight to see what their priorities are and how are we going to help them out. And they would supply you with some kind of an emergency money just in case something happens to one of our systems. And our systems are very old.
The school system, the buildings have been there, like you said, 70 years. Technology has changed. When those school buildings were built, the idea of a computer wasn't even a dream to somebody. And a lot of that stuff has to come along. There's changes that need to be made that the buildings just aren't capable of handling.
Yeah, and we're fortunate. Mr. Clardy has been our tech person here for quite a few years already, and he has kept our system updated and as to the best of his knowledge, keeping it going. We have a lot of wireless routers. We have a lot of things in our schools, but even he encounters those problems. One time at Longfellow, he said, the teacher cannot get the wireless in her room. I have a wireless right outside her room, but the walls were so thick that those things happened. So he eventually put one in the room so they could have wireless. So yeah, our buildings weren't built for technology, but on our best capability, we have probably a very good technological system in the Raton Public Schools, but you're right, the schools just were not built for those.
Some of your other facility issues that you're going to have to deal with, the track at the stadium.
Yes, and that's also part of the plan. We put that on there, maintaining our football fields. But we have 2 football fields, if you think about it. We have a practice field and we have Tiger Stadium. But those facilities with watering and a lot of other systems that we have to make sure that we have to put in place have to be in the plan also. So yes, we look at the whole district, not just a specific, building or whatever. We kind of looked at everything. We looked at maybe moving our transportation up to the high school to save money. Those are a lot of ideas that we have in the plan, and we have to have that. It's something that is essential for the Raton Public Schools to move forward and make sure that our buildings and our kids, we have buildings for our kids to learn. So
right now, this is one of the things that we keep hearing. The schools are a very important part of the community. That's part of the economic development of the community itself. But you listen to some of the parents, and they say, oh, the Raton schools aren't any good. Well, the Raton schools have produced doctors, won a Nobel laureate, dentists, engineers, and everything. What is it that you can tell the parents? Does it basically boil down to what the student puts into it versus what the teachers can
well,
do?
it's a partnership. It's a partnership. What I look at it, and I've always looked at this, we can teach your children the best we can when they're at the schools, but the partnership with the parents also having a part in their students' education, knowing what their students are doing in school and what they can do to help to kind of give them that support that they need at home too. And so, yeah, we do have a lot of good things that happen in our schools. Our robotics team is representing us very well, and they're going up to Denver in a couple of weeks to represent Raton in doing their robotics stuff. So we do have a lot of good things going out. But I think to tell parents that, yes, we want to partner up more with people to be involved in the schools, not only when they're in kindergarten and first grade, but when they're in high school. Be there, know what your child's doing in the schools, know what their grades are, help them out, and then have those conferences with those teachers and have those meaningful, I guess, talks with your children and how important school is. I was in a 7th grade class yesterday, and teacher was doing some things with careers, and she asked me, "Hey, you're walking by, would you mind talking to the kids about careers?" And a lot of them had a lot of good things that they wanted to do and be. One of the main messages I gave to them before I left is I said, you can be anything you want to be, but you have to put effort in, make sure you get a high school diploma and graduate from high school, and then your opportunities, whether you go to college, go to the military, or decide you're going to go out into the workforce. You know, we're trying to set up a lot of different courses up at the high school. We have the culinary, we have wood shop, we have a lot of things where we're trying to get certificates for those kids, so when they get out of high school and they graduate from high school, then they're able to go into the workforce if that's what they want to do. So we want to make sure that we maintain kids for if they're ready for college, the military, careers, anything that they want to do. But it's all an effort. It's all a community effort. You know, it always says it takes the village to raise someone. That's what it is. We have to work together. We have to always be positive about stuff. Things always happen, but we have to make sure that we work together with parents and with the community and with the schools to see what we could do for our students.
We've got students out there who, they put forth a lot of effort. You can see that even just recently. You've got one of the Honeyfield girls is a pharmacist. You've got one of the Wilson boys as a dentist. A lot of those things have come out. They put forth the effort. What does Raton Schools have in place to take care of the students that, for a lack of, I guess, a better way of putting it, just don't have the desire or the interest to want to do that?
Well,
or how does the Raton Schools help those?
Well, what we try to do is we try to see what their interests are, you know, so because some people are going to say, hey, I don't like to study, but we know requirements through the state of New Mexico. You have to have your 4 English credits, you have to have 4 math credits, you have to have 3 science or whatever. So we have to also understand that we have to give them those interventions at the elementary schools with the kids, are trying to get them to benchmark. We're always trying to get interventions with them. We're trying to get them extra tutoring. We're trying to do those things to help those students that we can do. But again, Marty, it's up to the student. They have to have the will and the want to go in and do their work, do their classwork. What I hear a lot from many classrooms is the kids can do the work, they just don't turn it in, and that's one of the biggest things. So we work towards how can we help them with tutoring. I know last year National Honor Society had a program where those kids after school would help with tutoring and help teachers that, you know, with tutoring. So those are some incentives that we try to have for the kids at those schools. Unfortunately, they do have to have those credits to graduate, so we have to maintain those classes for them.
You have, in the sports departments, I've heard the coaches say, hey, you know, did you get your grades done? Did you get this done? Did you get that done? Do you need help? A lot of the sports programs kind of have a peer-to-peer tutoring or help with schoolwork as well. Mm-hmm. And that fits in real well with what other programs that you've got going on.
Well, like I said, I don't know. I'd have to check with National Honor Society because I knew last year they're doing some tutoring. We have 3 rivers at. We're not just talking high school. We're also talking K through 12. But we have 3 rivers. That's a grant that they have out of I think it's out of Clovis, and so we hire teachers. They hire teachers for after-school tutoring, and we do tutoring 2 or 3 days a week for those. So again, it's just a lot of getting those kids to come in. Our teachers are always available at 7:30, especially at the high school. If you're having problems, they do give people opportunities to come in and get the extra work too. So our teachers are out there too if you just ask.
Okay. To kind of sum things up, Andy, how have you felt within the superintendent's job? Do you feel like that's coming along for you and you're understanding the budget better and
Well, I think
you're getting your hands wrapped
I'm getting my
around it.
hands wrapped around it. It is a learning process. It is a very difficult learning process. You live and learn by your experiences. But being an experienced educator, a lot of the things I look at are what can we do to help our kids? What benefits can we have for them? How can we look at the budget that we're going to make sure that money's going to the classrooms and stuff like that. Yeah, so it's a learning process. I'm getting better at it. I still have a lot to learn still.
The school board is, and a lot of people probably have a misconception about what the purpose of the school board is versus what your purpose is. The school board is there to make policy. They can direct or suggest that you do different things, but how does that relationship work?
Well, and when I first came on with any of the board members, I just said I want to work together. I want to be positive together. And if there are things that I can improve on, and you let me know those are things I can improve on, I will improve on those things. But it is correct. We go through a lot of communication of what's going on in the schools, how can we make it better, and eventually that comes down to me. How do I make those decisions that I know are going to help the teachers and the students and anyone in our community? But you are right. The school board does maintain policy, make sure that we are following policy, and then their other job is to hire and fire myself. So those are the things that we work with, and I've been working real positive with the board to make sure that we communicate as much as we possibly can with each other.
So ultimately, the buck stops with you, is the way you would kind of.
I would say as superintendent, that's how it is. Yes.
And how are the teachers coming along this year? How are they feeling about? They came out of 2 years ago with a lot of turmoil. Things kind of, it looked like, smoothed out a little bit last year. How are things feeling with the teachers this year?
Well, I walk around the schools quite a bit, and I see a lot of good things happening in our buildings. We still have a lot of work to do. You know, after closing 2 schools and the morale kind of going down, then cutting staff and morale also going down. It's just another building trust process that we have to do throughout the schools. But I do see a lot of good things happening in our schools. I walk around to schools, try to get around there at least once a week, teach school. And I see a lot of good teaching going on, and we're working as hard as we can. Again, each teacher may say something different. I couldn't speak for each one of them, but I'm hoping we can continue building the morale for them.
Good. So, all in all, the Raton schools are looking up. You feel very comfortable and hopeful for the future?
I am, and that's what we have to do. We can't sit back and say, oh, well, 2 years ago this was happened or this. We have to look at what we have right now. How can we make it better? And how can we come each day to improve the schools? How can we help each other to improve the schools and become a good school system? Because I think we're a good school system. I shouldn't have said become a good school system. Sorry, we are a good school system. I think we just need to continue improving and moving towards those better performance values that we have in our schools.
What, as we go forward into the future, technology is always changing. There's always things. I know the school used to have a school newspaper. They used to do different things like that to get out into the community, to kind of get the community a little more involved. Is there anything in the works to kind of look at some of those things, or bringing in, a lot like Mark Honeyfield's projects around the school, things like that? Are we looking at things like that to bring the community involvement, to let the community know more about what's going on in the school system?
We are. Especially with technology. I think our websites at the Raton Public Schools need a lot of work. And that's one of the things I'm trying to work on right now, and say, how can we get more information out to parents? We do send a lot of notes home. We do that, but we do have the board outside, so we try to put as much information as we can on that board out there. But not many people pass by the board, so we're working on our website to kind of try to get more information out and make sure that the community is informed as much as they can be.
Okay. You want to sum it up, Andy, and just kind of say, hey, folks, we're here. Come help us.
Yeah, we're here, community. Like I've said that even when I was a principal at Longfellow, I said, be involved. Come into your student's classroom, or come and talk to these kids, or come and talk to the teachers. That door over there is always open. anyone wants to come and talk to me at any time, they're more than welcome to.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you,
All right.
Andy.
Thank you, Marty. Appreciate it.